Are you ready to stop feeling stuck, lost, or confused about what to do next in your career? Then the Manifest Your Career podcast is just right for you, with me, your host, Dr. Norma Reyes. The Manifest Your Career podcast offers you career advice that integrates your mind, body, and spirit. It's time you start listening to your own inner guidance. Tune in each week to learn how to combine your intuition, strategy, and logic so that you can manifest the career of your dreams. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is episode 81, and today I will be talking about how to show yourself more love and compassion and grace so that you can attract what you actually want for yourself, for your career, for the life of your dreams. So it is very important for you to know, to remember that your mindset attracts your reality. And you may not have learned how to show yourself grace, love, and compassion for a variety of different reasons. So I'm going to share a little bit about how I have such a positive mindset aside from being a Sagittarius, because as a Sagittarius, we're just naturally more optimistic. But, my parents were very optimistic. And I'm going to share a little bit about their story and my story growing up, and then what you can do to be able to show yourself more love, compassion, and grace when things aren't going great, when you're just feeling down, because feeling down is part of life. Like literally a few days ago, I was just feeling bleh to just because I can't find another word. I was really feeling low, and I was looking at my chart, because you guys know that I look at my chart, and I'm like, what is going on? The moon is in Sagittarius. This is my time to feel optimistic, but I felt the opposite. And really, I allowed myself to just sit in it, to also just kind of be like, okay, well, this is how I'm feeling. There must be something that making me feel this way. And by feeling low, I mean like I was going the whole existential route where it's like, why do we exist? And what's the purpose of living? If we just die and if we reincarnate, I'm going to forget everybody that I love. Like, why is this? Why is that? And, if you're feeling that way and it's going beyond just a fleeting feeling, then you definitely want to seek professional help. I know for myself, like these moments happen for me, they happen for everyone. And it's just a time for me to be really reflect on what is going on. And usually it's a time that you're out of alignment. You're not stepping into your purpose the way you would like to. Maybe things are becoming a little mundane or rote, and you just feel kind of in a rut. And so the way to get yourself moving forward is really feeling it. Feel it, because when we just try to ignore it, it's just going to come back again, and it's going to last longer. So it's important that you feel it, figure out, okay, is this something that I need to work through, work on, or work with someone with? So there's that. Now back to how to show yourself more love and grace and compassion so that you can attract more of what you want in your life. So I grew up seeing my mom do it all. She did everything. She worked full time, she cooked, she cleaned, she made my dad breakfast every day for work, fresh tortillas, everything, and she didn't complain. She never complained. I mean, she might have said that she was tired, or she might have said something about coworkers, but really, like, once she said it, that was it. Yeah. And then she would watch her telenovelas and go to bed, wake up, repeat. So I've always known that both of my parents had a lot to do with my thinking. I remember my mom always saying things like, don't depend on a man, do it for yourself. Or, mija, que no te cierre el mundo. Don't let the world close in on you. Like, don't let your mindset get closed. Like, there's always options out there. And my dad, he was also very optimistic and hopeful about the future. He was always pushing me to, do well in school. And even now, and as an adult, he's said to me that, I can always accomplish anything that I set my mind to. So, they would say these things and they would put all their like belief and faith in me. And of course, I would absorb that. And it allowed me to be able to propel myself and be able to reach my goals. What I can't imagine is, what it was like for him to come to the US as a 17-year-old for a better life and for himself and for his future family. My mom came to the US when she was 6. Her dad had died, and she actually was raised by her paternal aunt. As the story goes, is that my grandfather, my mom's dad, didn't want my mom to be raised by a single mom and to have struggles. And so he wanted her to get raised by his sister, which turned out to be really just horrible upbringing for my mom, as being called a recogida, which means like an orphaned, or, we just brought you in, and she wasn't treated very well. And so there was a lot of challenges there for my mom. With that, my mom didn't grow up with a lot of I love yous and had a lot of trauma and different things. And so while I'm super grateful for both my parents and the sacrifices and the hope they gave me, I also, on the flip side, my parents weren't very loving. I mean, honestly, I could count the number of hugs I got growing up, the number of I love yous, probably less than two hands for sure. I definitely hug my mom a whole lot more as an adult. She hugs and loves on my children. And I think there was just a lot of healing that needed to go on for my mom. And both my parents have had a lot of growth. My dad still struggles to give me hugs, but I hug him. It is a little awkward, but I make him do it. But he does hug my children. And I think it's also easier to hug and love on children as well. So my dad growing up was an alcoholic. I also had to deal with some reproach from my mom for having my dad's like love growing up. He was very loving in ways that weren't like hugs or I love you, but he always like thought about me anytime he went anywhere. And I think that, for her, like it was just like a thorn on her side. And maybe it brought up feelings of her not having her dad her whole life as well. Things that we don't think about that is going on in our parents' minds when they're raising us. We just expect our parents to kind of be better than what they were without really thinking that they were also facing their own struggles. So I realized that they both were doing their own growing and healing. I mean, even now I'm 39, and honestly, half the time I can't even believe that I'm a mother, that I'm raising children, and I really work on doing my best and giving them positive feedback and raising them well to be accountable, to be great adults. But there are times that I also lose my temper. There are times that I do get upset over things that don't matter. And that's when, the difference is that I would, if I do get upset at them about something that really didn't matter, I'd come back and, really talk to them about like what was going on internally for me and how whatever behavior was going on was, acceptable or not acceptable for them. So back to my parents. So, my mom was literally abandoned by her mom and left to be raised by her paternal aunt. And my dad, he doesn't ever really talk about, what it was like for him to growing up. I'm not really sure what happened with his mom. I know that him and his siblings might have had different dads, and his mom was considered a cualquiera. And if you think about that time in Mexico, definitely anybody who had more than one man that they have children with, of course, are considered a slut. And so maybe that's why he hasn't talked about it. Maybe he wasn't raised by his dad. Maybe he, like I said, he hasn't really talked about it, and I've never really pushed him on it. But as I am talking here, I'm like, I really would love to learn his story, and hopefully he is willing to share it because he is a quiet man. So, growing up with parents that weren't as physically loving, maybe not even saying I love you to me, really left me with a hole inside, a hole that I didn't have any words for back then. But it really left me with the feeling of I wasn't enough because I knew they loved me. I know they loved me. I just didn't know what was missing, right? And at times I still get triggered because that hole is a feeling of not being enough, feeling abandoned in some ways, feeling rejected. And, I say this because my healing journey isn't special. We all have one that we need to go through. Your healing journey is unique to you, and your career growth really depends on it. There will be people who say that, your career doesn't matter, that it's not your life, but you spend so much time there. It is important. It's either re-energizing you or it's draining you. And it is important because it's how you leave a mark in this world. And maybe you do other things outside of work that is doing that, but you still want your work to feel good and to re energize you and not always drain you. But it may be draining you because it is triggering you. It may be triggering some of the wounds that you have. So I'm here to help you uncover some of the hidden beliefs that are stopping you from having the career growth you want, that may come from some of these triggers. They may not. Maybe it's just mindset. Maybe it's just things that you've absorbed over time and what you hear how a career should develop, and you were doing or thinking that that is how you need to develop in your career. So growing up, I saw my mom do it all without complaining. So what does that mean for me? What does it mean for me now? I can see how this role has played out for me and has led me to feel like I have to do it all. I have to manage my career on my own. I am the one that has to just figure it out. Just know that this is how it goes. But without anybody showing me how to do it, then it's not going to go as well as if I seek out help or finding mentors that help me find my blind spots. So for a long time, it did. It did keep me from asking for help. It kept me from seeking something different. I had no idea how the professional field worked. I just knew what I saw. And it was like, work hard and you'll get rewarded. And that's all my parents know. But the truth is that that's actually not true in the professional world. It's not about working hard, right? My parents were physically working hard because their jobs are physically, it's physical labor. And in the professional setting, it is not about working hard, but the value you bring, the value that you're bringing to the company. You may work hard to bring that value, or you may not. But you might think in your mind that working hard implies that your value is based on what you produce. But in reality, your worth and your value have nothing to do with your ability to work hard, at least in the sense of output. So in this life, you came to light up your corner of the world. And let me tell you, you are worthy and you have value just as you are. Because if you're listening to this podcast and you want more than a cushy job with a reliable paycheck, you want to make a difference in this world. You want to change the world. You want a career that lights you up, that feeds your soul. And even if saying it out loud makes you feel a certain way, if it triggers any of those wounds that need to heal, any that say you're not enough, who do you think you are? Get real. You can't make that change. You can't make money doing that. All of these things that are coming up for you, no, those are things that you only need to work through, because it is only the ego and fear that is trying to keep you safe from daring to be different, from daring to reach those goals, from daring to dream big. But it's time for you to heal those parts of you by showing yourself love, compassion, and grace. So here are 3 ways to show yourself more love, compassion, and grace. First, Start challenging your negative self-talk or beliefs. So when you tell yourself, who do you think you are? Challenge it with, who do I think I am? I'm, and then fill in the blank, I'm a badass bitch, or whatever else you want to say, whatever sounds right to you. Start writing a list of affirmations combating those negative self-talk or beliefs that are coming up for you when you think about those outrageous career goals that feel out of reach for you right now, so that you can start building yourself up and showing yourself more love, compassion, and grace. Second thing you need to do is ask yourself if your thoughts, beliefs, or behaviors are helping or hurting you. Just that simple. Is this a belief that's helping me? Yes or no? And if it's a belief that is not helping you, then decide, do I want to keep believing this? Ask yourself, do I want to keep believing this belief that is not helpful to me, that is not supporting me, that is not helping my growth? And then you decide if you want to continue to believe this. It's going to be work. This is what is called shadow work, and it's going to be work, but you can do it. It may not change in one day. It's definitely not going to change in one day, but it'll be slow progress that from here till next year, you'll be like, wow, I can't believe that I used to think those things about myself. I have grown so much. And the third thing you can do to show yourself more love, compassion, and grace is to sit in your emotions. I talked about this earlier about feeling bleh, not feeling great. The quick thing we want to do is we start to distract ourselves with a new hobby, an addiction, anything, right? Like binge watching a Netflix show, gossiping about other people. These are ways that we distract ourselves from keeping ourselves from sitting in our emotions. But learn to sit in the emotion, whatever the feeling is, and just allow it to pass through you. Work through whatever is coming up with it. And then you have then processed the emotion so that you can show yourself more love, compassion, and grace. As you are feeling those emotions, you can also talk to yourself, talk to your inner child, and say, I'm here. I'm here with you through this. So those are the 3 ways you can show yourself more love, compassion, and grace. 1 is challenging your negative self-talk or beliefs. 2 is asking yourself if your thoughts, beliefs, or behaviors are helping or hurting you. And then 3, sit in your emotions and stop distracting yourself by scrolling on Facebook, finding a new hobby, or pivoting again because it seems like a good time to pivot. So if this episode has been of any value to you, please share, review the podcast, and I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you for listening to the Manifest Your Career podcast. Are you ready to take action today? Visit manifestyourcareer.com to get started and schedule a free discovery call with me and gain clarity today.